good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Yes, I am live from Cabo Verde, from Middle Island, where I'm here working in an incredible project about remote working and how to empower a whole country through remote work. A little bit on that later. Just kudos for the music. I am already energized. Great separator. I love it. So I want to speak a little bit about the social impact, but I also want to leave and clarify some things that are happening right now in the world that need clarification. The first one is what most people are doing right now is not true remote work. It's just emergency remote work. That's not how remote work was developed by companies doing this for more than 10 years, like Automatic, like GitLab that just got an IPO in the US. This was just emergency remote work. Remote work is so much better. So in this emergency remote work, we saw something like too much synchronous communication where people are just chatting everywhere in all the platforms, WhatsApp, Teams, and then having Zoom calls at the same time. It's just madness. That's not how remote work works. And there is no documentation in the companies as well. That's not how remote work should work as well. We need documentation in order to work better in an asynchronous form. Companies are just copying the way they used to work in the office and trying to push that to remote work. And that's not how we should do it. This is basically leading to a silent burnout where people are just silently burning out at home because they don't want to lose this opportunity to work from home and they don't want to speak up. They're trying to work more hours to compensate by all the meetings and synchronous communication. And it's just not working because this is not remote work. What is remote work actually? Remote work is asynchronous first, meaning you should protect the time you work. As I go even further, you should block in your calendar your time for deep work where you disconnect from all your communication platforms and you just do your work, you just produce, which is exactly the opposite on what we do right now. You should create documentation for everything inside your company. People should be able to work from anywhere, not just from a radius of 10 kilometers from their office. They should be able to work from Cabo Verde, from Nigeria, from the US, from anywhere. This is true remote work. True remote work is also surprisingly human-centric because we humanize work in a way that people didn't used to do it in the offices. And it's above all decentralized and focused on the output instead of the hours. So very different from the experience of the majority during this pandemic remote work. Also, I see a lot of companies moving to the hybrid model that is also broken. That will lead to so many problems. I don't want to go deeper, but in short, you are creating two types of experiences for remote workers, two types of benefits, different access to information, different access to people, different, even the way you treat the employees will not be the same. So it's a headache. And if you, by any chance, are going to the hybrid model, there are so many hybrid models. I think it's very dangerous. And you need really a person or a team, not just your HR manager, but you need the whole team to manage it right. All this is leading to the great resignation. People are quitting because they're looking for better work-life integration. Work-life integration, not work-life balance. Like I used to say, I think work-life balance is dead. Work is part of life. It's not a separate area of life. We live and we work for living. We don't live to work. So this is the new normal, work-life integration. Companies also need to be more attractive than ever because people are just quitting to find better jobs or finding a job that aligns better with their mission and with their growth they hope to have in their careers. So the only way for companies to allow to attract talent is to first be super flexible, but also be sure you treat your employees well, that you have compassion, like we saw in the previous talk. There's so much to do. But what I want to talk about today, and this was just a short intro, was about how remote work will actually impact the whole world. Well, how if we do this well, actually remote is an incredible tool to change the world. And this is my theory and what I'm trying to do and prove to the world. The first things we'll see with remote work, and it's already happening in the US and even in Portugal in a different scale, is that we will see the decentralization of population. People used to leave their villages to go to the big city to find jobs. The big city was where the offices are, so you need to move to the city to have access to jobs. That's no longer true. While before you had to leave the whole social infrastructure to move to a big city, now you can just stay in your village and work for Google and work for Facebook and work for Twitter. You don't have to move anymore to have access to jobs. I had to move to Germany to have access to a better job. If I would do it right now, I'll just do the same from Portugal, where I am from. We are seeing New York and San Francisco struggling already with this. People are just leaving. And it will be slow. It will not be a huge decentralization, but it will slowly, people will want to live in smaller communities to have a more attractive and better lifestyle. Also, we have the decentralization of economy. I know right now all the crypto world sounds like Mama Jobo, but it's happening, and it will have a massive impact in economies, for example, in Africa, that are already using crypto to get payments from, even in Venezuela, with all the instability, we see people from Venezuela working remotely and receiving payments in crypto because it's more stable than the currency in Venezuela. So the whole economy is decentralizing. The way we work, the way we sign contracts, all that is moving to the blockchain. So we see a huge decentralization of the economy. That will lead to a very interesting repopulation of smaller cities. My favorite project and the best project in the world is Tulsa Remote in the United States. They are famous for offering $10,000 to any remote worker moving to Tulsa. Of course, they do the whole selection, and they just shared actually yesterday their first data. More than 1,000 employees already moved, and really interesting things happen when remote workers move to a city, to a small city. So some of the data shows that for each two just remote workers that are relocated to Tulsa, one new job is created. So this is a huge economic and social impact that will just lead to cities competing to attract remote workers, cities and villages. Also, small cities and villages have now a unique opportunity because we are seeking to live in communities, and villages and small cities is where it's easier to get a better community. Big cities are just not great on that. We are still seeing, and this is something that makes me really happy, a digital nomadism explosion, growth like never before. And before we used to have around 10% of remote employees. Right now there is more than 50% of remote employees inside the nomad community. So it's a massive change on the way the community works. And this means that people can now travel and work at the same time. And this is a massive change. So, for example, the digital nomad village in Madeira that I created is one of the biggest and most successful projects where we were able to have a massive impact in a small village in Madeira. And now the village is completely full. People are walking around with their computers in their hand. It looks like an alternative world. But this is the power that digital nomadism and the creation of digital nomad communities can have a huge impact. Community-based living. Even in this digital nomad village I just spoke to you, community is the key. So it's all about community, it's all about the event. So you'll see the huge, massive growth of the role of community managers. Community managers should be in every village, in every city. Places like Tulsa understand it, but we'll see that community will be key to the way we live. There is someone much smarter than myself that says that happiness equals community plus nature plus physical activity. So we need to live in communities, and the cities are the worst place to find communities. Next, we have immigration flow. So if we can work from anywhere, we don't have to immigrate to get new jobs. So this means that people in Cape Verde, where I'm right now, a small Pacific and Atlantic islands in Africa, they used to have to move to Portugal or to the US to get jobs. Now they can just stay in this incredible paradise, and their money will come here, and they'll stay with their family. They can support the elders, and it's just completely different. We are seeing also people coming back, both to Cape Verde, but also to Serbia, to Romania, because even to Turkey for sure, because if people can work remotely, they can come back and keep their jobs working for Germany, working for London. And this is actually having a massive impact in how the whole communities work back home. And last but not least, we can actually reduce the economic immigration flows. People used to leave their countries because they don't have access to jobs. And again, I lived in Portugal and I had to move to Germany, then to Poland, and now I'm an open. We don't need to do that anymore. The whole education is now online. People are learning how to code in Nigeria, and they are working to companies around the world without leaving their local communities. The same is happening pretty much everywhere. In Vietnam, massive programmers also as well, movement, people working remotely to the US. It just keeps happening. So to be honest, Africa will be the next star at the talent industry, with huge and talented young generation ready to learn and work from their communities to anywhere in the world. Countries again like Nigeria, Kenya, Cape Verde, and all the others, now have a massive competitive advantage because people don't need that much money to live compared with places like San Francisco. So they are educating, the government is helping educating their kids to code, to design, and any other skills that are useful to work remotely. By working remotely, the money will stay there. By the money stay there, they will help and empower their communities. And again, we saw that for 2 remote workers that went to Tulsa when a job was created, and this is massive. So I'm now right now in Cape Verde, managing the remote working Cape Verde program that goes exactly through that. We are starting with digital nomads, creating a digital nomad community here in Mindelo, in South Vicente Island. We are also improving the local conditions with internet coming, of course, in first place, having a co-working space. And with that, we are now going to universities to teach people that they can actually work remotely. It's not something that is widely known here. And with that, we hope to first give more jobs, well-paid jobs to Cape Verdeans here in the islands, but also bring back people that are right now spread around the world to come back and teach other people how to work remotely. This all to tell you that even though that remote work looks very cool and living in this environment looks incredible, it's not just a trend. It's so much more than just a trend. Remote work is actually a tool that can help us improve the world by educating and improving people's lives. We can find jobs to a lot of people. We have global access to jobs. We can even reduce this traumatic migration, very forced migration, where we try to enter different countries to have access to jobs. We can do that with email and with the internet connection. That's radically different from what we are used to. And to be honest, in general, we can improve our experience as human beings in this world, because reducing migration is also reducing the people left behind, reducing the families that were broken, reducing the elderlies that were left behind and forgotten. Remote work can empower communities, can empower more human connections. And for most managers, this is very surprising, but this is true. Remote work can change people, can change cities, and can change the whole world. But to do that, it's not that easy. We need to work. There's a lot of work to do. I am here testing it out for you guys to hopefully spread around the world. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak here, and very, very excited for the panel just next to my talk.